The Now Habit, a strategic program for overcoming procrastination and enjoying guilt-free play, by Fiore. Picture this. You're out on the water, learning to sail for the very first time. The wind picks up, the boat starts tilting, and suddenly you're in trouble. Water's rushing over the side, the sail's going crazy, and your heart's about to burst out of your chest. Your instructor leans over, calm as a Buddha, and asks, "Why are you doing that?" Wait, what? In the middle of a crisis? He wants a therapy session? If you actually stopped to psychoanalyze your mistake right then, you'd both be swimming with the fish. This actually happened to Fiore, the author we're exploring today. And in that panicked moment, something clicked for him. Asking why during a crisis is completely useless. The only question that matters is, what do I do right now to fix this? He pushed the rudder, released the sail, and saved the day. He taught himself what his coach couldn't. Here's the thing. We spend so much time asking ourselves, why do I always procrastinate? What's wrong with me? We're basically psychoanalyzing ourselves while our boat is sinking. What if there was a smarter way? Today we're exploring The Now Habit at Work by Dr. Fiore. This isn't your typical time management book filled with color-coded calendars and productivity hacks. This is about rewiring how your brain actually works. It's about understanding those sneaky hidden forces that make us put things off, feel overwhelmed, and fall into the trap of working harder instead of smarter. By the time we're done, you'll understand the secret language your mind uses to sabotage you. Even better, you'll learn the language that peak performers use to turn stress into focus, anxiety into action, and overwhelming projects into simple, doable steps. This isn't about becoming a robot. It's about becoming more human, more creative, and finally freeing yourself to do your best work without all the guilt. Let's start with a feeling we all know, that sinking dread when you look at a massive project. Your mind instantly jumps to the finish line, to that mountain of work between you and being done. And what happens? You freeze. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. This paralysis is where so much of our struggle begins. Dr. Fiore demonstrates this with one of those finger puzzles, the woven tube kind you stick your fingers into from both ends. What's everyone's first instinct? They pull, they struggle, and the harder they pull, the tighter it gets. They're completely stuck. This is exactly how most of us approach work and problems. When we feel stuck, we struggle harder. More willpower, more stress, more force. But here's the secret. The solution to the finger puzzle isn't pulling harder. It's doing the opposite. You gently push your fingers inward, the trap loosens, and you're free. He calls this the law of reverse effort. If you're pushing with all your might and the door won't open, it's probably a pull door. The struggle itself is telling you something. So what does this look like in real life? It's the language we use with ourselves. Think about how you talk to yourself when facing a difficult task. I have to finish this report. I should have started earlier. I must get this done perfectly. Let's break that down. When you say I have to, what are you really saying? You're saying I don't want to do this, but something's forcing me. You've just created a war inside your own head. There's the part of you playing taskmaster, and the part playing rebellious teenager. And guess what? You procrastinate. You check email, grab a snack, do literally anything else, because you're fighting the tyrant in your own mind. Dr. Fiore says the most powerful shift you can make is changing your language from I have to I choose to. Sounds almost too simple, right? But the effect is incredible. When you say, I choose to work on this report for 15 minutes, something revolutionary happens. You've taken back control. You're no longer a victim of your to-do list. There's no rebellion because there's no tyrant. Just a choice. Even for things you genuinely don't want to do, like paying taxes or getting a root canal, you can still choose. You're choosing to pay taxes because you prefer that over jail time. You're choosing the root canal over the agony of an infected tooth. By framing it as a choice, you align all your internal energy in one direction. The struggle stops. This brings us to the second big shift. Moving from the overwhelming idea of finishing to the simple act of starting. Our brains can't process a 500-hour project all at once. When you tell yourself, I have to write this entire book, your brain panics. It's trying to calculate every step, chapter, and sentence simultaneously. The result? Anxiety. That awful feeling of being stuck. Why? Because the finish line is in the imaginary future, somewhere your body can't reach right now. The solution is beautifully simple. I will start for 15 minutes. That's it. You don't promise to finish. You don't even promise to do good work. You just promise to start. Anyone can handle 15 minutes. It's less time than scrolling Instagram. But in those 15 minutes, something magical happens. First, you break through inertia. Getting started is often the hardest part. A 15-minute start is what Dr. Fiore calls a procrastination inoculation shot. Second, you start feeding your brain actual information. You can't solve a problem you haven't engaged with. Within minutes of working on something, you know more about it than when you were just worrying about it. Third, you activate what Dr. Fiore calls your subconscious genius, or your night shift mind. This is one of the book's most exciting ideas. Your conscious mind, the part that struggles and worries, is only a tiny fraction of your total brain power. You have this vast, powerful subconscious that's brilliant at solving problems, but it only works when you give it something to work on and then let it go. Dr. Fiore shares his own story of writing his doctoral dissertation while working 40 hours a week. How did he finish it in just 1 year? He never told himself, you have to finish this dissertation. Instead, he'd simply choose to work for 15 or 30 minutes before breakfast. He'd just seed his mind with the problem of the day. Then he'd go to work. While he was busy with his job, his subconscious night shift would work on the problem in the background. Often, the solution would just pop into his head in the shower or while driving home. He learned to trust this other part of himself. He gives us a wonderful physical exercise to feel this difference. Hold a book straight out in front of you with your arm fully extended. This is your conscious mind trying to handle a project alone. It's separated, strained, and quickly gets tired. Now bring your elbow down to your side, so your arm is supported by your body. The book weighs the same, but it feels effortless to hold. This is what it's like to work with your whole brain, connected to all your resources. This leads to another crucial shift, moving from ego focus to task focus. When we procrastinate or feel anxious about work, what are we really thinking about? Usually ourselves. What if I fail? What will they think of me? I'm not smart enough for this. This is ego focus. You're not thinking about the task. You're thinking about the threat to your sense of self. Dr. Fiore suggests categorizing thoughts into 2 boxes. Box 1 is for ego thoughts, worries about the past, fears about the future, self-criticism. Box 2 is for task thoughts. What's the next step? What do I know about this right now? How can I solve this problem? Peak performers have trained themselves to shift from box 1 to box 2 in a single breath. The moment they notice self-criticism, they pivot back to the task. They don't waste time analyzing the thought. This makes them more productive and reduces depression and anxiety because they're releasing that pent-up worry into effective action. A powerful story illustrates this perfectly. Ellen was a photographer whose day job had her locked in conflict with her boss. He refused to promote her, and she'd grown angry and resentful, starting to procrastinate and show up late. She was stuck in ego focus, consumed by the injustice. One weekend, while taking photos, she asked a young man with a motorcycle if she could photograph him. In response, he snapped open a switchblade and held it to her face, snarling, "Is this what you want to see, lady?" What would you do? Most of us would be terrified. But Ellen was so focused on her goal of getting a great picture that she didn't even feel fear. She was in pure task focus. She reached out, gently took the hand holding the knife, and said, "Yes, would you tilt it like this so it reflects the sun?" The young man was so shocked, he complied. He posed for 6 photos. When Ellen reflected on this, she had a breakthrough. With the biker, she'd refused to be defined as the enemy. She'd focused so intently on her goal that he was compelled to cooperate. She realized she could do the same with her boss. Instead of seeing him as an obstacle and glaring at him, she could focus on her goal, becoming a supervisor. The next day, instead of glaring, she simply smiled and said, "Good morning." Her boss was stunned. The tug-of-war she'd been playing requires two people. She'd just dropped the rope. Within 3 months of shifting her focus from the conflict to her goal, she became the first female supervisor in her department. That's the power of focusing on the task, not the ego. To build this kind of focus, we need a compelling vision. Dr. Fiore suggests a powerful exercise called the Ghost of Christmas Future. First, imagine your life 5 years from now if nothing changes. Same job, same problems, same unfulfilled dreams, only you're 5 years older. Let yourself feel the weight of that stagnation. What absolutely must change? That feeling can be a powerful motivator. Then do the second part. Imagine your life 5 years from now having made marvelous positive changes. You've achieved your most important goals. You feel fulfilled, healthy, and happy. Look back from that ideal future and see the steps you took. What was the very first small step you took 5 years ago that started this incredible journey? This exercise connects you to 3 great motivators: avoiding pain, the power of positive expectancy, and ownership over your life. The power of expectancy is beautifully illustrated by another story. A sales manager named Joe met someone in his office building elevator who wanted to buy a $5 million insurance policy. Joe was thrilled, but he realized he had a golden opportunity. In his weekly sales meeting, he announced to his team, "There is someone in this building who will buy a $5 million policy today." He didn't say who or where. In seconds, the room emptied as 12 salespeople fanned out across 18 floors, filled with the expectation of a huge sale. By day's end, they hadn't found Joe's original client, but they'd made a record number of sales. One person even sold a different $5 million policy. Because they expected success around every corner, they were more persistent, confident, and alert to opportunities. They created the reality they were primed to see. Now, all these strategies are essential for managing ourselves, but what about managing others, especially procrastinators? Dr. Fiore points out that we often make procrastination worse by using the same flawed language we use on ourselves. When we tell a procrastinating employee, "You have to get this finished," we're reinforcing the dynamic of tyrant and rebel. We're triggering their resistance. An effective manager does something different. They help the employee shift their internal language. Instead of asking about the finish line, they ask, "When can you start on a rough draft?" Notice the brilliance here. "When" forces them to pick a specific time, moving from vague intention to concrete plan. "Start" moves focus from the overwhelming endpoint to a simple first step. And rough draft gives permission to be imperfect, which diffuses the fear of criticism that drives procrastination. For true procrastinators, you might have to ask 4 or 5 times before they give you a real answer, like at 2:15 today, because they aren't used to thinking so concretely. You're not micromanaging. You're teaching them to become better self-managers. When it comes to difficult employees, Dr. Fiore offers a perspective born from his own life. He grew up in a tough, blue-collar neighborhood. He worked long hours while friends were having fun. He admits on his early jobs, he was the difficult employee. Later, as a psychologist working with prison inmates, he saw that the toughest, loudest ringleaders in groups were often the same men who, one-on-one, would tearfully admit they couldn't read and ask for help. Their aggression was a mask, a defense against feeling inadequate and ashamed. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it means we can be more effective when we look past the behavior to the underlying need. Often, the most difficult people are seeking respect. They feel they've been treated unfairly, and their acting out is a clumsy attempt to gain some sense of power and dignity. The key is treating all employees with respect, especially those sensitive to criticism. Create a safe environment where they can focus on the job, not defending their worth. Give them choices instead of orders. And crucially, catch them doing something right. People are most receptive to learning when they're recognized for what they're doing well. Positive reinforcement always beats negative attention. Ultimately, all these strategies are about building resilience. Life will throw curveballs. You'll have setbacks. The goal isn't perfection. It's getting good at recovering quickly. Dr. Fiore suggests planning for setbacks and rehearsing recovery. Tightrope walkers don't just practice walking the rope. They practice what to do when they start to fall. Sometimes, the balancing pole that usually saves them becomes the thing that pulls them down. In those moments, they have Plan B. They've practiced dropping the pole and grabbing the wire. Each time you do this, you weaken the old neural pathway and strengthen the new one. You're not just resisting a habit, you're building a new identity. You're becoming someone who faces challenges with calm, focused action. And that's the real promise of the Now Habit at Work. It's not about doing more things. It's about becoming more of who you're meant to be. It's about dropping the struggle, letting go of self-criticism, and discovering the profound ease and power that comes from living in the now, making one conscious choice at a time. It's about working with your whole self and finally unleashing your true potential. As we wrap up this journey through the Now Habit at Work, I want to reflect on what makes this book so enduringly powerful. In a world constantly screaming at us to go faster, do more, and optimize every second, Neil Fiore's message is a quiet, radical act of sanity. He's telling us to slow down, listen to ourselves, and be kinder. The most profound lesson for me is realizing that the biggest obstacle to our productivity isn't lack of time or a difficult boss. It's the conversation inside our own heads. The constant pressure of I have to, the sting of I should, and the fear behind what if create internal civil war. We're so busy fighting ourselves that we have no energy left for actual work. Fiore's genius is showing us we can declare a truce, we can change the language. The shift from I have to finish to I choose to start for 15 minutes is more than a productivity trick. It's a shift from victim to leader. It's reclaiming your own agency, your own power. Every great journey, every monumental achievement in history didn't happen all at once. It happened with a single, chosen first step. The other idea that truly resonates is the, quote, subconscious genius. We live in a culture that worships the hustle, the grind, the conscious effort. We believe if we just think harder and struggle more, we'll find the answer. Fiore invites us to trust a deeper, wiser part of ourselves. Give it the problem, then have faith to let go. Take a walk, sleep on it, or work on something else. This isn't laziness. It's a higher form of efficiency. It's understanding our best ideas often come when we stop forcing them. So how can you put this into practice today? Let me offer 3 simple actions. First, for the next 24 hours, become a detective of your own thoughts. Every time you catch yourself thinking or saying, I have to, just pause. Gently, without judgment, rephrase it as, I choose to. Notice how that small change feels. Notice how it shifts your energy. Second, pick one task you've been putting off. Just one. Could be homework, a difficult email, or cleaning your room. Set a timer for 15 minutes and just start. You don't have to finish it or do it perfectly. Just give it 15 minutes of undivided attention. When the timer goes off, you're free to stop. See what happens. You might find the momentum carries you forward. Third, tonight, before sleep, try a little experiment. Think of one problem on your mind. Instead of worrying, just say to yourself, it'll be interesting to see what solution comes to me. Give the problem to your night shift mind and let it go. You might be surprised by what you wake up with. That was a deep dive into The Now Habit at Work by Neil Fiore. We've explored the core principles, but I'll be honest. A summary is like looking at a photograph of a magnificent feast. You can see what's on the table, but you can't taste the food. The real magic happens when you read the book yourself. It's in the quiet moments when a particular story or simple phrase connects with your own life in unexpected ways. This summary is a map, but the book is the territory. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning new information. It's an experience that can genuinely change your relationship with your work, your stress, and your life. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.